Let me put it to you this way. I didn't listen to President Mbeki. I cannot bring myself to listen to President Mbeki.
AIDS activist Zachie Achmat says he refuses to forgive former President Thabo Mbeki. The Black Lawyers Association wants a judicial inquiry to probe claims that the state fails to contract black lawyers. And the Chamber of Mines puts the controversial mining charter on hold. A very happy Friday to you. You're watching eNews Direct tonight. I'm Duduzi Ramela.
Hello from me, Jeffrey Stevens. Welcome.
To comment on any of our stories, you can find us on Twitter and Facebook. That's at eNews Direct.
You can also track our main stories using the following hashtags: BLA and Mining Charter.
AIDS activist Zachie Achmat has received an honorary doctorate for his work in fighting government's health policy under former President Thabo Mbeki. Achmat says he refuses to forgive Mbeki. The former president continues to defend his stance on HIV, saying it was meant to save lives. Mbeki was speaking on Power FM last night.
It's one of the most controversial aspects of Thabo Mbeki's presidency. He tried to stop providing antiretroviral drugs for people living with HIV. His health minister, Mando Shabalala Msimang, offered beetroot and garlic as alternative treatments.
So the question we're asking, what causes immune deficiency? And how is this thing acquired which causes immune deficiency? Because in our response to this condition, we must be able to do everything possible to deal with this problem of acquired immune deficiency. It was exactly to make sure that we save lives of our people, not the opposite. But then people say, the only thing that you do with regard to acquired immune deficiency, give them ARVs.
AIDS activists went to court, forcing government to provide ARVs. Today, South Africa has the world's largest HIV treatment program. On Friday, AIDS activist Zachie Achmat received an honorary doctorate for his work in fighting Mbeki's health policy. Achmat says he refuses to forgive Mbeki.
I didn't listen to President Mbeki. I cannot bring myself to listen to President Mbeki. I think he has failed to show the honesty and integrity that a human being should.
The former president has also challenged the ANC to find solutions to its problems, as the future of the country depends on it.
The Black Lawyers Association is demanding that President Jacob Zuma establish a judicial inquiry into claims that the state fails to contract black lawyers. Attorneys and lawyers picketed outside the union buildings today, saying black legal minds are being ignored. They say experience has taught them that the state prefers their white colleagues and allegedly pays them more.
On an ordinary day, these attorneys would be arguing their cases in Pietermaritzburg courtrooms. But Nick Mbanjwa and Pila Manyati instead made their way to Pretoria with a burning issue in mind. Government is at the center of their grievances. They accuse the state of unfair distribution of work and skewed briefing patterns. They also claim government is deliberately sidelining women and black lawyers.
We must not be held at all to say what lawyers must not be briefed by the state. We are saying that these things should be equaled and we should be considered on our merit, not on our color. And message should be clear.
These lawyers say they're more than competent, but aren't given a chance.
It is common cause, it is in the public domain, that the state pays more legal fees to male white legal practitioners than it does to black and women legal practitioners. We demand meaningful and empowering legal work. We are not apologetic and we do not mince our words, we mean it. We must not be heard to be asking for sympathy or handouts or favor. No, we call upon the state to do what is required to do, to distribute the legal work to all legal practitioners equitably and in as far as is possible in accordance with the demography of our society.
Among their demands is an amendment to the State Attorney Act, which they believe is outdated.
The President to establish a judicial commission of inquiry on the root cause why state departments, state-owned enterprises and municipalities continue to appoint white male legal practitioners above their black and women counterparts, notwithstanding the presence of legal framework which require them to prefer women and black legal practitioners.
President Jacob Zuma says the concerns raised by the association are serious and has directed the Justice Ministry to look into them. In a statement, the president urges all spheres of government to prioritize the use of black lawyers, particularly women. Laranzo Temba, Pretoria.
The ANC in KwaZulu-Natal says the party is doing everything it can to deal with internal violence. This follows the shooting of 3 of its councillors in the province. One of the injured is former ANC Youth League Secretary General Sindiso Makaka. All 3 victims are reportedly in a stable condition at an undisclosed hospital.
The 3 councillors were shot after leaving an ANC meeting on Thursday night. They sustained serious injuries and were rushed to hospital. The Hawks say they were attacked by unknown suspects.
3 victims were taken to hospital. They had gunshot wounds, and currently we are now in the process of making sure that they are safe, but at the same time that they also recuperate so that we can be able to take statements.
At least 3 ANC councillors have been killed in the province over the past few months. The latest victim was Fiso Mkhize, an ANC ward councillor in Richmond. The ANC says it's urgently addressing the situation.
The officials of the ANC have gone to Herikwala to meet with all councillors and all branches of Herikwala and try to calm the situation, but try to understand what is happening as well. And I believe that all members of the ANC also work linked with the police so that we get to know what is happening.
All 3 victims from Thursday night are reportedly in a stable condition at an undisclosed hospital. One of the victims, the former ANC Youth League Secretary General Sindiso Makaka, is tipped to become the party's regional secretary. A political analyst believes this proves there is a serious battle for power within the ANC.
There is an upcoming regional elective congress, and that means there is a power contestation. It's not only a local power contestation, but also it's probably a power contestation even on the question around who should lead the ANC nationally.
Mnguni is concerned that these incidents will become more common ahead of the ANC's elective conference in December. Tuba Vilane, Durban.
The University of Cape Town is investigating allegations of rape and sexual harassment against 2 students. One of them was a high-profile leader during the Fees Must Fall protests. The university says it's urgently dealing with the matter and following legal processes. But some students are accusing the university of failing to deal with the perpetrators.
Last year, over 30 cases of rape and sexual assault were reported at the University of Cape Town. There were 27 cases of sexual harassment. Now, 2 student representatives have been named as alleged perpetrators. A student-led support group called UCT Survivors says the university's sexual assault response team is unable to address the problem.
The university created SART as a response to sort of public pressure around the Rhodes Mem rape incidents, but they didn't provide any sort of meaningful resources for this structure, like no budget, no offices, no permanent staff. But there's really no institutional power that SART has. So they can make recommendations, but if something goes seriously wrong, they have no power to really change that.
Kwala says there's no support for victims and only light consequences for perpetrators.
Sexual harassment, the penalties can be anything from an apology letter. We've had cases of community service in terms of an act of sexual violence. So the punishments for different cases are quite varied and don't seem to have really staunch, serious consequences.
In a statement, the Student Representative Council names the alleged perpetrators, saying it's committed to the fight against gender-based violence. UCT Survivors says It's currently compiling a list of complaints against UCT to submit to the Commission for Gender Equality. Artie Narsi, Cape Town.
Further afield now, and supporters of former Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva are protesting in Sao Paulo. Lula was sentenced to 9.5 years in prison for corruption on Wednesday. However, he's announced that he still intends to run for the presidency in 2018. Lula was found guilty of receiving bribes worth 14 million rand. In France, U.S. President Donald Trump is in Paris attending the Bastille Day parade. American and French troops are marching together. The procession marks 100 years since American troops entered World War I. Trump and his wife Melania were welcomed by French President Emmanuel Macron and his wife Brigitte. And in Australia, residents of Melbourne's northern suburbs have been forced to evacuate their homes as a recycling plant fire continues to burn. The blaze began yesterday morning. It was fueled by tons of plastic, cardboard and paper stored at the plant. The evacuation zone is likely to be extended as the blaze continues to take days to extinguish. We've got your business news after this break. Do stay with us. Money matters now, and the Department of Mineral Resources has agreed to suspend the implementation of the new mining charter. The department says it will wait for the outcome of an urgent court interdict that the Chamber of Mines launched against the charter's implementation. The application has been moved to September. That's to allow the department more time to prepare its answering affidavit. The Chamber claims it was not consulted in the drafting process. It also says the charter will destroy the mining sector if implemented in its current form.
Effectively, there's a whole bunch of principles in there on the ownership element and others which are contrary to company law, which are unconstitutional, which are contrary to our WTO trade obligations. And there are a bunch of targets in there which are not achievable by the industry in the time period given. So we just don't think that this is a workable charter, and it's going to be damaging for investment. We believe it's designed to benefit a small few at the expense of the whole country.
Well, mining analyst Mamokgethi Molopiane says the department's move is an admission from the mining minister that the new charter was flawed.
It also shows a lack of clarity in terms of how are they going to handle it moving forward. One of the critical issues, so now, instead of, remember, the charter was meant to be finalized this year so that it brings a sort of certainty to the industry, because the business side of the industry has been saying, South Africa, finalize your charter, finalize your mining legislature so that we know where we stand with you. Instead of doing that, it has opened wide the chasm between a policy and regulatory framework and the business. So it is now, if you heard one of the mining CEOs saying, we were abroad when the charter was tabled, we were raising bonds, and immediately people started pulling back. So that is the kind of a crisis, I say, it has created.
With that, let's see how the markets performed today. The accused in the so-called coffin assault case have each been granted 1,000 rand bail. Theo Jackson and Willem Oosthuizen face charges of kidnapping, assault with intent to do grievous bodily harm, and attempted murder. The pair forced Victim Lotjwa into a coffin and threatened to pour petrol over him. A video of the incident went viral, resulting in outrage across the country. And a reminder, if you've missed any of the stories we're tracking for you, we are on Twitter and Facebook. That's at eNews Direct. Or you can head on over to our website, that's enca.com/direct. Your weather details coming up after this break with Candace.
Severe dryness? Repair your skin in just 5 days with the world's #1 hand and body care brand, the healing power of Vaseline.
We saw showers forming over the central and southeastern part of South Africa on Friday, and they continue over the eastern part of the Eastern Cape through to Saturday morning. It'll be a hot day over parts of KwaZulu-Natal and the Lowveld, with fine and warm weather in the northeast, mostly clear over the central and northern interior, with a cloudy, wet and cold day in the southwest, and that's ahead of a cold front which arrives on Saturday night with a strong push of cold air behind it. Here's that hot weather for KwaZulu-Natal on Saturday: 33 degrees for Richards Bay, 28 for Pietermaritzburg and Durban, with showers over the southern part of the province as well as the eastern part of the Eastern Cape in the first part of the day. We're expecting highs in the upper teens and low 20s here, with a bit of cloud overhead. A wintry day is in store for the Western Cape, with cloudy, cold and wet weather in the southwest. We'll see quite a bit of cloud and prefrontal rain ahead of that cold front on Saturday night, and we'll see rainfall extending through to George much later on in the day. We'll also see that rainfall spreading up the west coast by Saturday evening. Cooler weather already settles in throughout the Northern Cape, with a high of around 20 for Uppington and Potchefstroom. Mostly clear and mild for the Free State, with highs in the low 20s. Sunny and warm weather continues for the northwest, with highs mainly in the mid-20s. And you'll see fine and hot weather for Limpopo, around 30 degrees for Messina and Palabor, with Lephalale and Zanin at 28. 30 and sunny for Bombela, with a sunny and mild day throughout the Mpumalanga Highveld. 22 for Johannesburg and Soweto, and a sunny 24 for Pretoria. On Sunday, we'll see that cold weather extend over the southern part of South Africa, with cloudy and wet weather in the forecast. We're expecting some rain to spread all the way through to KwaZulu-Natal, but with temperatures remaining quite warm in the northeast, and we might even see some snowfall for the mountaintops of the Cape provinces. That's all from the Weather Centre for now. Enjoy your weekend.
Whatever the conditions, choose the world's #1 hand and body care brand to restore your skin, the healing power of Vaseline.
A reminder of your top stories before we say goodbye.
Let me put it to you this way. I didn't listen to President Mbeki. I cannot bring myself to listen to President Mbeki.
AIDS activist Zachie Achmat says he refuses to forgive former President Thabo Mbeki. The Black Lawyers Association wants a judicial inquiry to probe claims that the state fails to contract black lawyers. The Chamber of Mines puts the controversial mining charter on hold. And that's our lot for the week.
Have a good night. Cheers now.